You're listening to the Small and Supercharged podcast with Ria Freeman, episode 315.
Well, hello and welcome to this week's podcast. It's a solo with me, and it is about assessing where you are now and thinking about if it's really what you want. A little while ago, I feel like it's probably about last year, I did a podcast about how it's important to not wait for January the 1st, how it's important to constantly review what you're doing and think about if that actually aligns with where you want to go. And I just wanted to kind of dig into that a bit more because it's something that I've been doing recently, and I thought, why not share this process? And this does feel quite vulnerable because it just does, doesn't it? I think when we're thinking of changing things up, of when we look at what we're doing, there's a lot of kind of honesty with yourself about it. What do you want to do? And looking ahead to your big goals and dreams and ambitions and thinking about what you do now and whether they're aligned. And I think that if you work for yourself, there are times when you work for yourself when you say yes to everything, particularly when you start out, because it can be really hard to get those people through the door. So when I started, God, think about how old I am. Oh gosh. When I started this a number of years ago, 20 years ago, and I was self-employed, I knew what I wanted to do, but in order to get there, I needed to get experience. In order to get experience, you do things for very little money or for free to kind of build that portfolio. And then when you start to get some traction, you start to get more people through the door, you start to get more emails requesting stuff, you can start to get phone calls requesting that you'll help people. You start charging, etc., etc. And so the momentum continues. You keep promoting, you keep kind of feeding everything in at the top that comes out the bottom. You get the clients, you get the conversions, etc., etc. And that's lovely. But what I think can happen, and definitely what happened with a lot more then than me now, is you kind of get this fear that if you say no to something, you're going to sort of jinx yourself. I'd love to know if you get this, if you're listening to this and you think, yeah, I get this, let me know, because it's a crazy thing to say out loud, as in, how can you jinx something by saying no to something that you don't necessarily want? But there is this fear, and I think when you're self-employed, so when it matters, when you're when if you don't, it's not like I'm going to get paid regardless. I need to get the clients, nurture the clients, do the work, do this, invoice. I'm horrible at invoicing still. And do all of this to get it. So everything that comes in is a direct link to what I get paid. Whereas I think when you're employed, you have that salary, you're getting that. But I think that it's kind of a double-edged sword, because it's exciting, because the harder the work you work, the more money you get. But I think that drives this fear that the other side of that is if you don't get the work in, you don't earn the money. Now, I think everybody in their business, or most people, there will obviously be unicorns out there who aren't this, but most people have this for a number of years. You get the work in, you're great, you carry on marketing, and it does feel kind of quite intense. But then as you grow bigger and bigger, or you get more and more work, and you don't have that direct panic that you don't have to say yes to everything, because that's what we get in the habit of. We say yes to everything. And sometimes it's great. And sometimes as soon as you say yes, you just think, oh, why did I do that? But it is what it is, because you need that income in. But then you get to a point where you think, I don't need the income, but I'm worried about saying no in case that jinxes me, or in case somebody else drops out the system, and then I've got a gap that I could have filled if I'd have said yes. So you're kind of hoping you can see into the future. But then what happens is if the first person doesn't drop out the system, you've got somebody else to look after and somebody else to kind of work with and nurture. And if you've got some sort of slack in the system, that's great. And it's a funny one. It's a weird one. I think the same happens with product-based businesses as well. You take on more and more orders. I guess the beauty of that is you can get more people to help you pack and pick. Whereas if you're service-based, it's more challenging. Or if you're directly involved in the outcome of the thing, it can be more challenging as well. But you do get this sort of fear. And I think what this fear can also do is keep you saying yes to things, even if you don't want to do them, or if it's not in the direction which you're aiming. And this is why it is so important to reassess our goals regularly, reassess our big goal, our big dreams, our big ambitions, not the micro ones so much, although they are all very much connected. But where are you actually heading? What do you want to do? What do you want to be known for? What do you want to grow? What do you want to develop? And is saying yes to certain things aligning with that? So one of the things that I've been thinking about and doing is I'm really excited, and I'm going to tell you loads more about this when I'm allowed to, but I've got a book coming out in January with Bloomsbury, which I am so excited about. I can't even tell you actually how excited I'm about it. It's like a dream publisher. Bloomsbury, for God's sake, it's just amazing. And I'm so proud and so chuffed. But I've really got this fear about it as well, because I wanted to do so well. I say this blowing my own trumpet, and I hate it in that horrible British, It's really good. I am so proud of it. I have been so lucky to be able to interview some absolute icons in the space that I work in and way beyond. And I've been able to interview them and speak to them and get under the kind of skin of their business and what makes them tick, and also the kind of challenges they've overcome. I'm so proud of this book, and I cannot wait for you to read it. On the other side of that, I am really, really worried it's not going to achieve its potential, because it's very much like, I feel my first book, there was definitely a large chunk of my soul in it. I feel there is with this one as well. And that's really exciting. But this book is very much like my first book. It's aimed at the broader market. And in order for it to do well at the broader market, I need to make sure that I'm continually pushing to increase the awareness of my brand in the larger market. And there's lots of ways I'm doing this. So I do actually a fair amount on radio. I don't talk about it, which annoys me. And I know somebody who this is their job. It's ridiculous. But generally I'm on radio a few times a month. I sometimes pop up on TV. I get asked to comment on usually PR disasters, sometimes PR wins, and marketing, social media, in the press as well. Thinking about the podcast, I've really had a very good think about that as well, in the direction that's going. And you may have noticed that I've got a much broader pool of people that I'm speaking to now, people just with really cool businesses that I'm inspired by, and I want to find out what is going on there. How do they get there? What tips have they got? So these are businesses that I've been following, that I've been reading about, that I've been interested in. They have got a thread that connects them all together. They are fairly smallish businesses. I like to speak to the founders generally. There will be some exceptions, but generally I like to speak to the founders. I like to hear their founder story. So there is a thread, but the podcast has kind of moved on and developed. And this is because I've done quite a lot of work, just sort of taking a breath and thinking, okay, where do I want to go? I'm lucky I've got the most incredible clients. I've got an amazing array of clients who I work with. But because when I started 20 years ago, some days it really feels like 20 years ago, some days it doesn't. My focus was solely on one niche. Over the last probably 5 years, maybe, no, more than 5 actually. Again, it's pre-COVID times. I've started to broaden that niche quite substantially. And things that have helped with this are, I am one of the Help to Grow mentors, so the government's Help to Grow scheme. I'm an ILM 7 coach and mentor, and my mentees on there are incredibly broad in what they do. I don't even think anyone is related to the pet industry, let alone a super niche within that. Really, really broad. Men, women, people who work for big firms in the city, people that are small starter businesses. I do quite a bit of work for Small Business Britain. I'm one of their mentors, and I've got a few. I've worked with them on lots of different programs, and I get to work with some amazing, amazing business founders, really diverse spaces. So I've been doing quite a lot of stuff like this as well, and it's kind of terrifying because it doesn't quite feel like starting again, because it isn't, because it's very much stuff that I know and I work with day in, day out. But it feels quite, I don't know, vulnerable. It feels quite, it's exciting, but it's just a weird thing, because I think as you grow and develop in your business, stuff that you wanted to achieve when you started out, when you achieve it, you kind of think, oh, what now? What now? And then you can get into this kind of coasting situation, which is horrible. If you're in that now, it's flipping horrible. And you kind of feel like you don't quite know what to do. And it's even more difficult if your business is going well, because then you think, well, who am I to change these things? Like, why should I change these things? You know, I enjoy what I'm doing. I'm doing this. I really like it. I enjoy it. Why should I be changing things? But then that's why it's so important to just think, okay, well, what's happened has happened, and and those goals have been achieved, which is great, but where am I heading now? And then making sure that the steps that you're taking, the work that you're doing, the things that you're saying yes to align with where you want to go ultimately. And that can be quite scary. It can be quite enlightening. It can be quite interesting. It can feel huge, but it's vital. It's vital if you want to continue to grow, develop, learn, expand. You know, life changes, things happen, and you have to adapt. Maybe you've gone down a path and you've loved particular elements of it, and that has given you more food for thought, and that has created other opportunities, or even things that you didn't even know existed as an opportunity. I mean, the world we live in is changing so quickly. If we think about social media and the rise of influencers who now, some of them are just amazing and earn a huge amount of money for what they're doing. If that had been something that somebody had said 10 years ago, you'd have thought, bless them, bless their little cotton socks, they are mad. Maybe more than 10 years ago, maybe 15. You'd have thought that's not a thing. That's not a thing at all, but it is, and it is possible. Podcasts, you know, another thing until not that long ago, were very, very hard to produce, very expensive to host. Really not now. So anyone can have one. I mean, gosh, even I can. You're listening to this now, and I'm incredibly, incredibly grateful for all of you. So it's important to reassess where you are and where you want to go based on how far you've come and what you've learnt. It's important to think about where you want to go next, because part of being a business owner is the evolution of it. Like, where are you going? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? And actually, if you know what, if you want to get to a point and stay where you are and you're happy with that, brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. You do you. Don't listen to this thinking, oh gosh, she's pushing and pushing and pushing. I mean, I kind of am, but I'm doing it to myself. But you know, where do you want to go now? Because with the things that you learn, with the opportunities that come out to you, it gives you other ideas and it inspires you for more. So when the radio stuff for me started about 18 months ago, and I got this really random call from, I remember it so clearly, it was from Radio 5 Live, BBC Radio 5 Live. Flippin' love BBC Radio 5 Live. I've been on a few times now, love it. And I was in a beer garden with my dog, who was about 18 months younger then, and she's two and a bit now. So she was quite wild, because I remember walking around the beer garden with her, and she was on the lead, being really quite challenging. And this person was on the phone talking to me about whether I'd come on Radio 5 Live to talk about Philip Schofield and the PR and brand optics on the This Morning situation. And I was so confused about why I was on that phone call. But I said, yeah, absolutely, that'd be great. Because I had been reading about it and I did have thoughts on it. And, I deal with PR, marketing, brand optics, how things look, that all the time. I thought, yeah, I'd love to. Because I wanted to, and I had been doing more and more stuff with the more mainstream space. So I thought, yeah, this is a great idea. And I absolutely loved it. I adore the radio. I love TV stuff, which I was lucky enough to do quite a bit of. Love it. Now, I wouldn't have even known I'd loved it. I wouldn't have even known that I would be so excited when I get a call to go on the radio. And I've done it loads now. I was on this week. Yeah, this week actually. So when you're listening to it last week, who even knows? Actually about Philip Schofield again and his Castaway programme. But I love it. Who would have known that was a thing? And there's things that you do and you get the opportunity to do. And when you say yes, you think, some things I've done, some things I've done and I've said yes and I've done it and I've thought, never again. That was ridiculous. What was I thinking? There's loads of them. And that's useful as well when you're thinking about your journey and the way you want to go, because you can't discount the stuff if you haven't done it either. So it's really important to try these things and experiment and then have that kind of aligning towards your goal. But if you'd have asked me 3 years ago what I was aiming for, I wouldn't have said a lot of the stuff I have got now, because I didn't know how much I enjoyed it, the opportunity, or that kind of thing. God, if you'd have said to me 3 years ago, you're going to get a book deal with Bloomsbury, after we'd stopped laughing, or after I've stopped laughing, and then I'd laughed again, I'd have probably asked you if you were all right, because it felt so out of reach. Of course, I decided I wanted a book deal and broke it down and worked incredibly hard, and that they're fabulous. I'm very, very lucky that I got to connect with the right person and speak to them and work on something. So it's so good, but I did really put the graft and be in no illusion of the graft that's gone into every stage. But I would have thought you were mad. But because I've learned a lot more and know what's possible, it's now not mad. And actually, I've got ideas for book 3 and book 4. So it's just crazy to me to even say that. But, if we were sticking with the goal I had, the plans I had 20 years ago, I wouldn't be thinking about writing 4 books. That would be ridiculous. I hadn't written one. So I guess what I'm trying to say to you is it's so important that we keep reassessing where we are, what we're saying yes to, the direction that we're travelling in, and whether that is where we want to go. And we must also remember that every time we say yes to something, and I am a devil for this, every time we say yes to something, we are saying no to something else, because we only have a certain amount of time. So if we're saying yes to something, that means we have to say no to something else, or we have to say no to the possibility of something else because we don't have the time to pursue it. And that's why it is so important that we keep revising that goal, that we look for things, that we think about what our wildest dreams would be, and we start making the steps towards them, because so much is possible. But it's not possible if we keep being dragged back to what we know, what feels safe, to kind of feed that fear that we've got that stuff's going to dry up. Like, sometimes we just have to be brave. It's terrifying, absolutely terrifying. But the possible upside is worth all the fear and then some. So that's what I want to say to you today. Revisit your goals, revisit where you want to go, and think about whether the actions that you're taking now today are moving you closer or further away. Of course, I'm not saying say no to work. At the end of the day, money does make the world go round, and we have bills and God knows what to pay for. So I'm not saying just jack it all in and go and do something. But if you've got that goal in mind, actually you can start taking even micro steps towards it. If you've reassessed it and think, I'm really interested in a completely different career, start doing the research. It doesn't mean you have to jack it all in, but it means you can do something else and start making those steps towards your ultimate goal because you've learned so much about what you're doing now and what isn't working or is working for you. So on that note, on that rather deep note, I'm going to love you and leave you. If you'd like to buy my first book, please do. It's available on Amazon. If you just search for my name, Ria Freeman. Actually, to be honest, if you search for Ria Freeman, you might see the cover of my new book as well, but don't tell anybody I told you that. If you have a look for Ria Freeman, you'll see my first book. If you could rate and review the podcast, I'd be wildly grateful. It really, really does help. And I've got so much cool stuff to bring you. When the book comes out, I've got a whole special, exclusive series connected to the book, which is flipping insane, which is already recorded. So good. I can't wait to share so much with you. I've got so many things I need to share with you. I want to share with you, but I can't. But as soon as I can, I will. But thank you so much for listening. I'd really like your thoughts on this. It's kind of a vulnerable one, and feels a little bit out there. But I'd love your thoughts on it. Do you reassess? Do you think about where you're heading, where you want to head? Has anything I've said today resonated with you and you've thought, oh yeah, I get that too? Do you get the fear? It's okay, you're amongst friends. I'd love to hear. I'll be over on Instagram. As always, feel free to DM me. I'm at Ria Freeman PR over there. And have a brilliant week until we meet again.